Hello everybody. Firstly, I'd just like to welcome you to this webinar where we'll be talking about the US dollar and the G20 meeting and the potential effects on many instruments you trade with. My name is Sasha and I'm a financial analyst from the research department at ther. I'm delighted to have you with us. If you have any questions, please call us and ask to speak to a senior account manager who'll be happy to help. Before I go any further, please take a moment to read our risk warning and disclaimer. I'm sure you know that although gains can be made trading CFDs, losses can be incurred too, and you need to be aware of this. And now let me explain what a market opportunity is if you don't know. A market opportunity is a one-page briefing containing market analysis, and our goal is to provide you with a simple to understand opportunity to trade in the markets. We will select an instrument such as gold or a currency pair and tell you our very best estimate on its price direction so that you can trade on it if you want to. Market opportunities are produced by the research department on a daily basis according to market conditions. A market opportunity consists of fundamental analysis, geopolitical events, and technical analysis that includes a pivot point and support and resistance levels. It's important to understand it's your decision whether you want to trade on market opportunities or not. So here's an example of a recent market opportunity. You can see some fundamental analysis on what's going on with the euro-dollar currency pair. You can see this is a downtrend opportunity over a weekly period, since our analysis suggested that the euro would decline in value against the dollar. At the top, you can see some geopolitical events and fundamental analysis that can influence the euro-dollar currency pair. For example, the part on the EU and its disagreement with the Italian government over its budget, which has put pressure on the euro. When using a market opportunity, it's vital to look at the pivot point on which the calculations are based. In this instance, if the price reaches 1.1381 that you can see on the right hand side of the screen here, this shows the right moment in our estimation for opening a trading position, had you decided to trade on this market opportunity when it was active. You can see below the trend direction and the time period. It's also important that you know how to use these stop loss and take profit options. You have support and resistance levels further along. At these points you can put a stop loss and take profit. And further down you have calculations. If you close the position using take profit, you can expect these kinds of profits at the support levels in green. If the price is going against you, you can potentially have a loss of this amount at these resistance levels in red. Finally, profit and loss calculations are based on a one-lot trading volume. What is the G20? Well, originally the G20 Leaders Summit was launched in November 2008 as a forum for the political leaders of major advanced and emerging economies to cope with the global financial crisis. G20 member economies, including all the member states of the European Union, account for some 86% of global GDP. 77% of global trade and 64% of global population, and that's from 2017. Thus, it's more representative of the world economy than the G7 countries. That's Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom, and the US, which together account for 46% of global GDP, 34% of global trade, and 10% of global population. Until the recent move of the United States towards economic nationalism and protectionism, forums such as the G20 were very much places where the ethos of a rules-based multilateral free trade was practiced. The current US administration frequently clashes with multinational bodies such as the G20. The event itself takes place on June the 28th to June the 29th in Osaka, Japan, and the theme this year is trade and the digital economy. So, what happened last time? The 2018 summit took place in Buenos Aires, Argentina. One notable outcome of the last meeting was probably the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, the replacement of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. But perhaps the most important was the progress made between Presidents Trump and Jinping, which caused the sides to call a truce in the trade war. President Trump provided a 90-day delay of tariffs on 25% of Chinese imports. It's hard to gauge the effect of meetings at the G20 on the markets, since some effects are felt in the longer term. However, taking our two examples, we can see that what we would expect to happen did in fact happen. So we can see the S&P was up more than 1% and the US dollar index was down by 0.23%. Since the G20 takes place at the weekend and this announcement of something of a truce between the US and China was made on a Sunday, there wasn't an immediate impact on the markets. On Monday, December the 3rd, the day after the announcement, the US dollar fell by 0.23% against a basket of other currencies. This makes sense since the dollar has been used as a safe haven currency as investors buy the greenback, since they trust the US to perform better than other economies in the event of a longer-term trade war. Stocks were also up more than 1% on December the 3rd, mainly in reaction to the agreement between the US and China to suspend trade hostilities. And considering US stocks were entering a correction and saw dramatic losses until January this year, a reversal in this period was quite an achievement. So the list of those supposed to attend reads like a who's who in international relations. President Trump, French President Macron, Germany's Chancellor Merkel, Russian President Putin, King Salman of Saudi Arabia, Turkey's President Erdogan, President Tusk of the European Council, among many others. Finance ministers, central bank governors, and foreign ministers will also have their own meetings on the sidelines of the main meeting. The big subject of discussion will be trade, and all eyes will be on the meeting, if it takes place between President Trump and Chinese President Jinping. Trump had actually threatened to impose new tariffs on China had Jinping refused to meet face-to-face, although the US has now backtracked on this particular threat. In any case, investors will again be watching for progress on trade. Other meetings include an important one between Presidents Trump and Erdogan of Turkey. They are due to discuss issues including Turkey ordering a Russian missile system, which has caused the US to threaten sanctions, to which Turkey has threatened to respond with its own sanctions. Any progress in US-Turkey relations should support the lira, while anything less will likely continue to push the lira lower. King Salman of Saudi Arabia will likely meet with President Trump and President Putin. No doubt the king won't be pleased at the recent drop in oil prices, and it's possible that any meeting between Salman and Putin will actually decide upon OPEC crude oil production levels. The decision is supposed to be officially made at the OPEC meeting at the end of the month, or the beginning of next month, because at the time of writing, the final OPEC meeting date has not yet been set. Our next webinar on Monday next week will discuss this in more detail, by the way. Obviously, any talk of agreement to extend oil production cuts will support crude prices and vice versa. G20 leaders are also expected to agree on the modernization of the WTO to improve the protection of intellectual property rights, develop a new set of international rules on market-distorting industrial subsidies, and state-owned enterprises. This won't have a short-term effect on any instrument, though. But dollar currency pairs, the Japanese yen, Turkish lira, stocks, gold, and crude oil prices may all be affected by the meeting and its outcome, and volatility is to be expected on Monday, July 1st. Of course, we at THER will be following any developments that affect the markets very closely, so please do get in touch with a senior account manager if you have any questions or want to take advantage of the trading opportunities that the G20 may present. Until then, goodbye, and please join us again at THER soon.